Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining today. I'm Catherine Holt, the Community Manager at Fullcast, and today Dharmesh Singh will be hosting our live demo. Dharmesh is the CEO and co-founder of Fullcast, and after running sales operations teams at both Salesforce and Microsoft, he learned the pain of sales planning firsthand and set out to build a better solution, which is what we'll be talking about today. So today's webinar is a live demo going over Fullcast software and use cases for how it can get your sales planning out of Excel and into an environment where you can build flexible sales plans that can be collaborated on across teams and be executed in your CRM in real time. So please interject your questions as we go using the chat or the Q&A box on your screen, and we'll answer them throughout the demo, but we'll also save a little bit of time at the end to answer any remaining questions. And the last bit of housekeeping is I'll be sending a recording of this tomorrow morning. So if you'd like to share it with any of your team members or watch it again, you'll have the ability to do that. So let's dive in, and Dharmesh, I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you, Catherine. And before we jump into the demo, we just have a quick few slides to just set some context around why we exist as a company and what is the problem we're trying to solve, right? And then we spend as much time in the demo and happy to answer any questions like Catherine said. So as we think about Fullcast, right? Our goal is to address three things, right? The ops challenges that we have, we'll cover them in the slide deck. We'll look at the solution and we look at the demo. And we've been streamlining ops issues for the last maybe a year and a half, almost 2 years now, across a large spectrum of companies of all sizes, all the way from companies that have 10 reps to a publicly traded company like Okta, right? Or zones that has about 1,000 reps. So the solution actually scales quite a bit. And the reason why we feel operations teams need to think more about automation on the ops side is because as companies grow, the complexity of sales ops increases as well, right? Generally, when a company first gets started, we install an instance of a CRM, in most cases Salesforce. And as the company continues to evolve and grow, what's really changing is the company's go-to-market, right? And not just for sales, but for marketing, customer success, and sales, right? All functions that are tied to the go-to-market, they continue to evolve. And every time they evolve, there is a challenge of keeping the Salesforce CRM system in sync with the evolving nature. And so we grow the CRM system through Band-Aids, and it's hard to keep it in sync with the go-to-market, which is why what we've seen is there are different stages of CRM. In most places, we call them as a defined stage. They've got some basic CRM implemented, some basic firmographic data for accounts, and some processes defined around lead and opportunity flow. But there's largely, we start complaining about data quality issues, and it's hard to keep the go-to-market aligned with the CRM, right? And the reason for that is the go-to-market itself, the planning functions of how we are assigning resources, how we are managing resources, who's doing what, which territories belong to which person. All that stuff is being captured in Excel. That's where you're actually building your go-to-market plan. And it's a lot easier for teams to have individual copies of Excel and keep the Excel version updated. But it's a lot harder to take that Excel version and actually make it actionable in CRM. So in CRM is what you see the transactional stuff around accounts and opportunities. But because the two systems are not linked, a lot of times as people are leaving the company or people are changing roles across companies, or people moving from account executive roles to account manager roles, we forget to track all those changes back into the Excel spreadsheet, right? And just managing those changes itself, it's a nightmare. It becomes a full-time job, right? And along with those go-to-market, right? We have this implicit policies that we define in the go-to-market. We will say, John Doe is covering account X, and if John Doe moves from account X to account Y, Johnny, who will come to cover John, will have some rules of when can he own that account, and all that stuff is really not tracked in CRM, right? It's someone's head. So connecting these two things is what we think of as operational hell, right? Too hard to collaborate across Excel and CRM. Lots of bad data in CRM itself as things evolve. And then just the toxic amount of time it takes to take changes from Excel, put them into CRM, and keep them aligned, right? Just takes too long to do those things. So as we set out, based on our experience from Salesforce, we thought about automating this entire loop, right? And when we think about automating this entire loop, the big question is, what are the kind of tasks we can perform, right? Oh, shoot. I just realized my slideshow is not moving. Sorry about that. You should be able to see the slide now.
Try it one more time. It's still on the home page.
Yeah. Okay. I will jump ahead. So
there we go.
Now you can see it, right?
Yep.
I spoke through a lot of the stuff, but I caught it at the meat. So here is the slide, right? So as we think about alignment, right, what are the kind of things that need to happen between Excel and CRM, right? So a lot of the work that is top of the funnel, which is the strategy side, we are evaluating as we carve these territories out, who owns what territories, what is the impact of moving the territory from one person to another, right? What will happen before I make the moves? What will happen after I make the moves? How do I set quotas and assign targets, right? All that stuff is done in Excel, right? What kind of roles are we going to have today? And as the company will evolve, you will either introduce new roles or take out some old roles, right? That thing is done in Excel. And because you're keeping your transactional stuff, the pipeline reporting and everything else in the CRM side of the house, you are unable to sort of, on the CRM, you get the pipeline report, but really figuring out beyond just the pipeline, any other MBOs and KPIs, right? How are we doing against teams, against product targets, around channel go-to-market, right? All that stuff, Excel. And then the marketing team has their own point solutions that are putting in data into Salesforce, but it's hard to sort of take that data coming in from marketing systems into Salesforce and tracking them all the way through marketing and sales to do things like, okay, which of my lead sources are the right sources, right? We need metrics to track that stuff. And then, of course, for the sales ops people, right? Through the year, sales ops people are dividing their time in basically two functions, right? One is making the reps productive. And then the second part is tracking the reps, right? Who was covering what, when, and what are the rules around when someone leaves the company or someone new joins the company, right? Or what are the rules around holdouts? What are the rules around transitions, right? Those policies that get enforced, right? That's a lot of manual work that sales ops teams are doing. And of course, a lot of that stems from the inherent lack of data quality, which is because policies are not being consistently enforced. And the customer ops teams are essentially doing the similar things. They are managing assignments, they are managing bookings targets, tracking plan to actuals, they're trying to do account health scoring, either in Excel or they could use the different systems. But ideally, right, you want all of that in one place. So as we start thinking about Fullcast, right, we broke the demo and the platform itself into these 6 buckets. At the beginning, what you're doing in the Fullcast platform is defining all the roles that you have, right? Because going back to a theme that as the company evolves, its go-to-market will evolve. Then what's happening is you are introducing roles, and you're introducing or retiring some roles. And you're introducing the concept of ramped profiles, right? My net ramped capacity. So it's a different notion than saying I have 10 reps, but all 10 may not be ramped because they came in at different times. Someone could have joined just 2 months ago and they're still in the ramping phase. So your net capacity is not 10 reps. Your net capacity could be 8.5. And what you need from a planning perspective is what is my total ramp, right? You need data to define that. Most sales team kind of miss their numbers because they've underestimated or overestimated ramp. And what are my roles? So as people come in, I am automating them into a role and I'm applying ramp profiles. Right? The next part there is, once I have the people defined into roles, how are we segmenting our customer base and assigning people into those customer segments, right? So how are we segmenting our accounts, either by territory, how are we segmenting our teams? If we have multiple products that we're going to market with, how are we segmenting all the different product lines that we have and assigning people into those to cover each of those, the territories or teams or products. And once they're assigned, then I'm setting targets on them, right? Target could be a quota target. A target could be an MBO by roles. I could have manager targets. I could have targets of people. I want to really track the plan itself once the target is set. And then on an ongoing basis, because planning happens maybe twice a year or thrice a year as companies growing, they're always doing this what if analysis, right? What if I had 100 more reps? What would my numbers look like? So you're doing the planning, but on an ongoing basis, you're also managing all the role changes that happen, right? People leaving the company, people moving into different roles. So automating a lot of those flows around those movements against their policies is super important. And the last part is all the stuff, once the plan is done, we are enforcing rules on top of Salesforce. We call them policies. Some people call it rules of engagement. Things like, okay, now to map my current go-to-market, should my account hierarchy update? Should my routing rules change? Right. So all those things will be part of the Fullcast platform, right? And so without further ado, we can jump right into the demo itself. And you should be able to see my screen, the demo screen. Catherine, can you see that?
Yep, it's there.
Okay, cool. So this is a Fullcast app. Let's jump right into it. And as you come into the app, you'll see 3 tabs on top, right? So there's design, rhythm, and motion. Design is where you will do your entire go-to-market planning. Right? Motion is where you are enforcing those business rules that are tied to more runtime rules. Right? And rhythm is the place where we will come in and we will track whether anything that matters for us. Right? It's a place when you're building the plan or executing against the plan. You want to see how well you're performing. And so it all starts, like I said, for the first thing that we do is we define the roles, right? And the idea here is before you even go out to meet your customers, you are looking at your internal capacity and assigning people into roles, right? And so you could have, as the company will evolve, like I said earlier, you will either add roles or retire roles. So you will see some of these roles, the roles that are currently active. You will see some roles that could be inactive, which function they belong to, and you see things like what is my total net ramped capacity for that given role, right? So in this case of, like, say, an account manager role, I can see that I don't have anybody fully ramped yet. It's 0. But I also have a few other things. I have how many people are in the to be hired category, or to be transferred category, or to be replaced category, right? So this gives ops people a full view of all the headcount they have across the company by role, right? And what you're doing over here is, the first time you're coming in, you're actually defining the ramp profile associated with this role, right? And what I mean by that is you're saying if this person is an account manager role, this role is active in our system for this next 1 year, could be 2 years, could be, or it could be a future dated role that you are intending to create a new role. What kind of role is it? Is it a quota carrying role? Is it a support role? What kind of commission structure applies to the role? Because the things that you're doing over here is you're creating the roles and you will assign people into the role. And the next thing you want is you want to really track the commission impact, right? Because who was covering what when for commission purposes. And then you're defining what kind of profile does this role have? Is he a new hire? Is it a normal role? Is it a replacement role that's going to be? Because each of these different profile for this role could have a different ramp profile, right? You can come in here and say, for a new hire who comes in, I will call a new hire as of the person who comes into this role on the start date or, a date he was assigned to the role. And I can define what the ramp profile for this person could look like, right, for the first 4 months. Right? When does he get to the 100% fully ramped role? So I've taken away the decision-making from the field or individual managers to say, what do you think the ramp is? I've centralized those ramp profiles. So anytime now when I come in and assign new people into the system, into the account manager role, they will, if they were new hire, they will follow this ramp profile. So when I'm assigning targets, assigning quotas, all the work that we do manually, we will automatically be able to apply the ramp profile to adjust the targets, adjust the quotas, so we can have a full line of view on the impact of someone's leaving or departure on my overall ability to meet my number. So I would come in over here, do a one-time update of the role and leave it over there. And then I'm actually spending most of my time either in the design or the motion module, right? And so let's take this way. So I'm a VP of sales or a CRO. I come into my rhythm and a tab out here. I see some folders. I see the dashboards that are important for me as a business that I'm running over here. I come in over here and I can actually see some performance analysis, right? So this is totally customizable to your business. I can come and see how am I performing in a given territory. And what I see is in this case, I'm seeing the team's performance to plan, right? And I see the NA pod is doing a great job, because I'm seeing it on all companies level. So I go into NA pod itself and I can now see which of the teams within NA pod are performing to plan, what's the open pipe versus activities. And this is totally customizable. Like I said, you can create any kind of reporting out here as it reports to tracking to plan. But I could continue to drill into my different go-to-market segments and see how the team is performing. Right? And so if I have a question for how the West region is doing, or why these accounts in this enterprise segment unassigned, I see this is the data quality part. I'm actually seeing that I've got a bunch of unassigned accounts right now in my enterprise North America pod. That's how I've broken down my territory. And I'm seeing the impact of those unassigned accounts, right, to my current revenue target, which is a 910K. The revenue out here shows it's only about, the 6.6. So immediately I can go jump into my territory design. I can see the segment itself, right? And now what I'm doing is I'm actually pulling the data from Salesforce to see how I'm currently performing against that plan, right? So this is my metrics at an all company levels against the current plan of action. So I'm switching my gear as a planner right now and saying, okay, my boss has told me that those charts are telling there are a few unassigned buckets, the enterprise key team. So I go ahead and see how my team is set up currently. And I see, as a company, when we were planning, we had these 4 metrics at the top as our North Star metrics, right? Now, how many prospects, how many number of customers, what's our revenue, what's our average deal size? That's what the board cares about. I can pick and choose any metric that matters over here, right? So I can actually say, give me my open new business opportunity amount, for example, right? And it'll start showing me my open new business opportunity amount across all my customer segments. And I can actually drill in after that as I drill into the different segments, the same metrics will refresh, and I get to see what's my performance versus plan, actual versus variance right up top. And I'm actually seeing all my accounts in the same place as well. So this is my current plan. Now I am going to say, my boss has told me that I need to go and update a plan or create a new what if analysis. So I can actually go into a proposed view and see what my proposed change is going to look like. So I'm moving some accounts, or I've added some new accounts over here. So I see the proposed accounts. I can see the difference between my current plan and my proposed plan. So which accounts actually got moved and where they moved from, right? So these are the accounts, the name of the account, the ultimate parent account it belongs to, what is the revenue from that account, and which territory am I moving it from, right? So some accounts are moved from an unassigned territory to a different territory. So all that moves are changes of account itself. I get to see right here. I can see all my accounts over here from at a parent level. I can show all accounts, or I can switch over just to a parent view, and I just want to see only the parent accounts as well, right? So we are essentially pulling data from Salesforce and applying the rules for parent-child relationships. I can also see out here how my accounts are distributed by geo maps, right? So if I want to take a map view and see how my enterprise is broken up by these territories, this will be my map view, and I can then go keep trawling and seeing, okay, what's my East territory looking like, and territory East North America, how does that look like, right? So all those metrics will refresh itself, the accounts that are there in that metrics. So when I'm doing my segmenting out here now in the proposed view, I am actually going to go ahead and say, as I'm segmenting, I'm moving accounts over. This is my planning function that's going. I can pick accounts that matter to, that I need to move from this account, say Enterprise North America to West. And either I can move and say where they're moving to SMD for whatever reasons. I want to move them over there. Or I'm playing a different role now. I am the owner for East North America. My top team has been moving these accounts, but I have to make some edits and reply back to them that these accounts should not move. So I can give some commentary out here, because I'd say this account actually belongs to me. The field, there's missing data or bad data related to any of the things that matter. In this case, it could be the billing cities was wrong for these accounts, which is why they were in a different segment. They should actually belong to me or belong to someone else. I can make those changes up here, leave some notes, and we take it back to the ops team, and the ops team can then track when they have the data available to them and they're doing the segmentation. So once the segmentation is done, you're making all the moves, add changes, and collaborating with other people, either through notes explicitly on the field or just inline conversation. You can then start assigning people into those territories, right? So this is all the plan that's happening, right? So you have two stages. You have a current plan that's already in Salesforce, so you have people assigned to it, but now you're planning for the next fiscal year or next quarter. So you're creating new segments. You would then come in and do a couple of things. You would come and assign people into those segments, right? And this is where you start looking at who was covering what territories or when. And this could be, the start date, end date, the role they were in, and you'll manage the entire life cycle of those people out here, right? So you'll say, okay, this person I'm going to move, I'm going to terminate this person, or change Janet's role, effective future date. What role she's going to be in. She'll be an account manager role. That'll be her start date on the 18th and ending on the 19th, and a couple of rules that'll happen. Which is like taking this territory. When I'm making the change, I need to know which territory she was in, what role she was in. I'm going to end this assignment, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to replace this role. Assign this person to the new segment. If there's a temporary coverage, who's going to cover this person, and move all those targets and everything else to the new role, right? So all the role management, the life cycle piece is happening while I'm assigning people. Right? The other big thing over here is the ability to then, so now I've created my segments, I've assigned people into the roles. If I had to move people out of those roles to a new role or do any replacement, I can do those things. I can now come and then start doing target setting. Right. So I'm actually seeing right now how this team is performing against plan for a given target. I've already set up those targets for this team. So I can see, performance for a given target. It could be a target that is a explicit quota target, or it could be an activity target. Anything that the ops teams wants to measure is a target that can be set up over here and tracked. And the way the target setting works is I can actually do a few things, right? I assign the target and I get to see full top down and a bottoms up view. The most often, how targets work is the sales leadership says, this is our target. And we're going to assign the target to our team. And so the managers get it. Managers assign the target to the reps under them. The reps may or may not agree with the target itself. And so they will have feedback on the target. And that's the bottom up feedback that's coming in. And so as a ops team that has good fiduciary responsibility, you want to be able to track both the top down and bottom up target. Right, and so you see how the number of the top-down number, you'll see the adjusted number in between. The adjusted is coming from the bottom-up feedback out here, and you actually get to see how the numbers got distributed out over here. You want to see the details of how the numbers are applied, so I can actually see what the goal was. This was the goal, whether it was a formula that we had or an explicit number. What was my revenue schedule? If someone made adjustments to the schedule itself, I can take a look at that. I can also adjust the schedule for seasonality, which is good, because I own North America East region. I know my own seasonality. I could apply that to the corporate number that was given, or I could make some adjustments as I roll this number down, right? So I can have my own adjustment based on productivity profile, which is ramp of people I'll pick up from the ramp profile, or I can have manual adjustment. So the entire target setting process that we talk about is happening here, along with distributing the target to the node below me. If I have people under me, I can distribute those things as well. So very quickly, what we've covered so far is three things. First step, crafting and creating segments or territories, both with a map view or in managing all the things that are involved when we are creating the segments, right? Because when you're moving accounts over, changing segments, there's a lot of back and forth collaboration with people who are currently owning accounts, who may be sensitive to account moves, or sometimes we need more data and fidelity on a given account because the data is bad. Right, so we talked about those things out here. How we track, we help companies, incorporate a process for capturing input from the field or people who are involved for data-related issues. So, like, if there's missing fields or fields have wrong data, people are impacted, can give an update, and we can take that factor in and fix it back into Salesforce. We talked about the notion of looking at crafting territories by zip code levels, at 5-digit zip code levels out here. And then we saw the process of assigning people, right? So we did the segments, we are assigning people into roles. We are managing those people in those roles itself. If they're changing roles, that's the ongoing business, right? People are always leaving the company or new people are joining the team. And so we have to manage those assignments. We quickly looked at the quota setting, the target setting process, but we're doing all of those things in the concept and the context of territory. We could do all those things from a team perspective as well, right? So I have the territory view was assigning those customers segments and assigning them to teams, to people, but I have a team as well that needs to be managed. I could have different teams, my customer success teams or my sales team or marketing team, and I can do the exact same things over here for them. So now in this view, I'm seeing all my team members and just the management of my internal resources. I'm seeing the targets being set for the team, and I'm actually seeing who are the people in the given team, right? So I'm actually going to see in my sales team, for example, who are the people assigned to this team. I can take a look at people. I can say, okay, I'm going to assign a few people into my sales team here, right? Uh, Based on the roles, I can put a newly hired into the role. Travis Applegate, start date, end date, and I'll how I want to populate assignments. I'll do all those things over here. The other big piece over here is as for internal resources, a lot of times you want to see the org chart, so we can actually see an org chart out here and take a look at that as well. Right now, we don't have people populated, so you don't see managers. But if you had people populated here, you would actually see all the folks in the role that belong to the team. Right. So just like we saw territory and team and all the things you could do. If you had multiple products, you could also see product as well. Right? Now, shifting gears, right? When we are creating these territories and moving accounts, we are while we're doing all these things, we are defining the policy, right? So we are defining the policies around who gets to cover what, when, start date, end dates by role, right? In a given territory segments. We are carving out new territories, and we are respecting, things like account hierarchy rules, right? So when I was moving accounts, one of the things we skipped over here was our ability to go ahead and create those hierarchies, right? I can create a new hierarchy out here by any. There's my go-to-market hierarchy by any field in Salesforce. But I'm more importantly focused on when I'm creating the hierarchy, what do I need to, how do I need to trade accounts within the family, right? So there's a lot of stuff around account policies that's done over here. So I have quickly created segments, assigned people into roles. We have set targets. When all that stuff is done, I have to push the changes back into Salesforce, right? So right now, all the stuff that you're seeing with the yellow dots out here means that these are proposed changes. These are changes that are not reflected in Salesforce. These are not changes that you're working with. But when you want to make them effective, you got sign off from everybody else. All you have to do is you have to hit commit, and we will push those changes into Salesforce. And once the changes are pushed into Salesforce, because the two-way sync with Salesforce, as the things are happening within Salesforce environment, and people are updating the transactional records and activities happening, we are allowing you to keep track of plan versus actuals right over here, like you saw earlier, right? So we define all the stuff on the design side, and now the design is running. We are enforcing run state policies, right? So the policies, the way you want to think about them is today. They're all the business rules that we have. And today, these rules are applied through either point solutions or through custom code or generally tracked in a workbook someplace, right? So when we think about policies, what we're saying is what are the rules of engagement that are going to be applied in the context of my go-to-market model, right? So I could have a default routing rule at an all companies level, and I could pick a pod itself and say this pod will have a different routing rule than what we had. So I'll just go ahead and pick a policy. And so this is a library of policies that we're currently building out. But you will actually see policies that are tied to things like assignments and compliance and data and just sales process. So the idea is for each of these things, right? Like if I have a assignments policies, in this case that I'm assigning, whether it's how to handle subscriptions, an account, or case routing. So all that stuff is codified. And so I could have a different lead routing policy for North America than what I had for all company level. And the advantage of doing it this way is it's done in plain English. As the go-to-market evolves, you don't have to go around and write custom code in Salesforce or a third-party tool where you have to go and update process flows every time your go-to-market changes, right? all I can do, all I have to do is now just come into see my go-to-market and say, this is my policy today. I have a policy that talks about how we're going to handle duplicates, right? If I'm going to find duplicates in the last 30 days, they need to go, and they have a 100% match. They need to go to be routed to, whether it's to the same owner. If a contact is found, convert it over and merge it to the original contact owner. If it is from the same domain, route it to the same person as an original person. So the idea here is no code, just configure. Anytime anything changes, all you're doing is just updating the rule itself. You don't have to spend a whole lot of time rewriting the rule. You just update the rule through configuration settings, right? So we've decided, we think these are some of the policy elements, right, around how do we handle duplicates? Do we have a policy for auto converting? Do we have a policy that based on a role, if I'm turning on enable role-based things, that based on a role, are routed to that role, right? So in this case, if it's a North America pod for enterprise, I could say, if a lead comes in from an account, which is a customer, give it to the account manager role assigned to that given territory, right? Whoever the person is in that account manager role for that territory. It doesn't have to go to an SDR. If I want just a basic round robin, what is my policy for a round robin, right? If you want fair distribution, then I want to just say that anybody who's logged into the system gets it. Right, all those things you're defining over there, and I can limit as well. So if there are different people within the team with different ramp profiles, my newbie should not be hoarding all the stuff because the new person still ramping. So I can put policies out here by limiting, what they will get based on their ramp profile or their role. So a lot of the stuff out here is all about defining policies as we think about assignments, right? We could have the same rules around data, right? So do we have policies around how do we handle industry taxonomy? It changes. So I could have a default industry taxonomy for my enterprise, all my accounts, but my enterprise accounts could have a different industry taxonomy. How do we handle dedups? Right. So these are all the policies where we kind of felt that anything that'll come in, right, that is always evolving, always changing against the nature of a go-to-market. Instead of writing code, it should be enforcement of those policies. So the way the policies work is when you hit save changes, we will enforce these policies onto the CRM system. So think of these as business rules that are running in the background to keep the ops engine humming along. Right. So I will take a pause. I think we went through a lot of stuff and go back to the slide itself to recap a few things here on the demo. Right. So as you think about the things that we just talked about, right? We looked at the sales strategy bucket, and we said, the things that we can do around territory management, segmenting, quota setting, defining roles, tracking plan versus actuals, for setting up segments for team and products. Channel works the same way, right? Doing analysis, so there was some charting functionality that we have in the system to look at before and after, so disruption analysis, right? So if I'm moving accounts, I want to understand the impact of those moves. We do that. Then we spend a whole lot of time around the ops function, which is in the motion tab. So how are we managing assignments? How we enforcing policies consistently? Customer ops works the same way as well, which is when you look at the team module or even the design module, right? Assigning who's assigned to what in what role. So we can have customer management roles that are there. So there's a lot of stuff, like I said, in the platform. The platform covers the full aspect of creating the plan and tying the plan through policies and driving consistency for sales ops people. Our view is that as we build one ops, right, whether it's customer success or sales and marketing, they need to be aligned, and the best way to align them is allowing the go-to-market. So all this planning function that happens is tied to planning, allocating marketing resources, customer success resources, sales support resources in the context of the go-to-market and applying those business rules, right? So the reason why we think we need to automate this piece is because in operations, people find themselves building the same thing over and over again. The framework changes, but the task itself does not change, right? So as we grow, the framework changes, the tasks are not changing, and it's very hard to keep the Salesforce system aligned with the framework itself that's changing. And so the Fullcast platform allows the two systems to stay in sync without having to write a lot of code. So any questions, comments? I ran through a bunch of stuff very, very fast. But if there are any questions, concerned, let me know. Would love to answer anything now.
Yeah, we had a question come in about, is this a tool only for sales ops people, or is there a way to show your plan to other departments and stakeholders?
Excellent question. So it is a tool that is managed by sales ops people, but it is a tool that allows other people across finance or HR or sales leadership to be working off the same model, right? The reason why we exist, and probably I didn't express this clearly, is when we are doing the traditional way of planning through Excel, everybody has their own copy of Excel, right? And it's very hard to keep track. Now, when I'm creating this plan out here, I'm actually involving other people in the planning process, right? So if I'm creating my segments and I'm assigning people into the segments, I am bringing in those people into the planning process. I could bring in people from finance and HR and my sales leadership. So everybody is seeing the plan itself, and on a runtime basis, they're all seeing plan versus actual by their role, right? So we did not spend any time on the back end stuff, but yeah, you can define users and you can define roles for people who are coming in over here. And they will all get to work out of a shared model.
Great, thank you. Good answer. Well, we'll wait for just a minute more to see if there's other questions that come in. But thank you so much, Dharmesh. That was great. Are there any other final thoughts you'd like to leave us with?
No, the final thought over here is think about go-to-market, and this ties to the question that someone asked earlier as well, right? The one question, the reason why why people think, and when you get into the discussion with planning teams, they'll say our data is bad. Our data is bad because a Salesforce system is old, right? Or it is not well architected. And so what Fullcast does is we come in and fix the Salesforce system, but unlike a regular consulting company that will come and say we'll fix it, 6 months later you as a go-to-market evolve, your Salesforce will again be held back in the past. And so what we feel is, just like Salesforce is a system for sales reps, it's for tracking people and transactionally tracking reps plans and what they're doing. Before Salesforce CRM, the reps used to actually have their own Excel sheets. We need a complementary system for the operations team. And when I say operations, it's not just sales, it's sales, or customer success, or even marketing ops. There's a platform for them where their North Star is the go-to-market, right? And so Fullcast is a platform for go-to-market planning that complements and works with Salesforce. So you plan here and execute the plan in Salesforce, but keep the two things lined up.
Great. And one last question. How should I get in touch with you if I want to know more about what this software is doing?
Yeah, so you can actually email us here to alex@fullcast.io, and he can set up a customized demo over here, or you can reach out to Catherine as well, or you can ping me at Dharmesh@fullcast.io.
Great. And yeah, like I said at the beginning, I'll be sending out a recording of this. So if there's someone on your team who you think should take a look, feel free to share that link with them.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, you can always reply to the email invitation I sent out, or again, reach out to Alex or Dharmesh, and I'll include their contact information in the email I sent. So great question. Well, thank you so much for joining. We'll go ahead and close this out, and we appreciate your attention and look forward to seeing you online again soon.